As advisors, we just need to do two things in the first meeting if we want to connect and build trust with prospective clients. Now, the unfortunate thing is that within our industry, the best and the smartest advisors don't always succeed. You can have exactly what your ideal client wants, but if you can't communicate effectively, then they're never going to know how you can help them. Here's the truth though. You're only as good as you can communicate. So I want to share a simple strategy that we use to connect with people in that first meeting that we never met, in that introductory call, or whether it's introductory meeting, if it's in person or on the phone or via video call. We've been using this exact strategy at our advisory firm, Streamline Financial. And last year, 2 advisors using our first and second meeting playbook, they were able to bring on close to 60 million in about 11 months. And by the way, I'm Dave and I run that firm, Streamline Financial, with Tim. And if you're an advisor who wants to continually improve your communication and then learn some growth strategies, then you'll want to make sure that you do 2 things. Get access to our weekly newsletter, weekly email that gives these trainings that you won't see anywhere else on YouTube or anywhere else on the internet. And then number 2, just be sure you're subscribed and hit the bell icon so you get updated when I post a new video here on this channel. Now, when you think about it, we're at a little bit of a disadvantage since March of 2020 when a lot of people got more comfortable with virtual meetings. So that first meeting, whether it's a phone call, sometimes it's virtual rather than coming into the office, and not being in the same room with someone can really take away that ability to connect. But there's a simple thing you can do to really build strong connection in that first interaction, however you're communicating, and it all has to do with the questions that you ask. And remember, in the first interaction with our clients to be, they don't care yet about the credentials behind your name or CFP or how big your firm is or even the knowledge that you have in your head. The most important thing that we need to communicate is that we've helped people like them before and people with similar problems or concerns that they have right now. Again, only if it's true, that's what we're communicating. And the only way we can do that is seek first to really understand them. The person that you're talking to will feel a connection when they feel that you really care for them and their situation. Now, there's a specific question we ask to show that we do care, but you truly have to care, right? You can't fake this. Asking the question without genuinely being interested in that person, that won't work. Humans have an innate ability to understand and kind of sniff out or sense whether you're truly honest or care, right? So you have to make sure that you're fully present and you've got a mindset of giving and not receiving. This is about them. It's not about you. So the first thing we have to understand is what they're concerned about or what they're not certain about. If you've been an advisor for at least 5 years, and if you found a client niche, then you already know probably the top 10 concerns that people bring up often in the first or second meeting, right? But it's important that we don't tell them the concerns, but first hear it from them. And there's actually an important thing we can do after they give up their concerns to us or communicate their concerns or the thoughts that they're having. And that important thing is clarifying what they just said. And let me give you an example. When you ask what's on your mind, or if you ask, what concerns do you have related to retirement, they might say, well, I just want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I should be, or I just want to make sure that I'm not making any mistakes as I'm thinking about retirement. And then what we'll often say, this is part of the clarification technique, is that makes a lot of sense. A lot of clients come to us before retirement because they're doing some research and they're looking at different retirement strategies or maybe looking online and they're starting to realize that the last 30 years looks a bit different than the next 30 years. It's not just about growth and accumulation anymore. It's more about, they're thinking tax planning and withdrawal strategy and if investments are prepared for the upcoming economic seasons we may go through. And then they'll say, confirmations like yes or exactly or things like that. And what we just did was we entered the conversation that they were already having in their head and we helped clarify it even more. So we took what they said and then clarified it even more. There's this saying that is, if you can describe their problem better than they can describe it, then they're actually going to automatically assume that you have a better solution. So part 1, just to recap, is understand the concerns so that you can communicate how you've helped other people with those same problems or concerns. The next thing we need to do in meeting 1 so that we can connect and build trust is wait till all the way to the end of the first meeting. And part of the reason why we do this is because we want them to leave the meeting feeling pretty good, right? There's another saying that's, I think it's by Maya Angelou, that says they might not always remember what you said, but they remember how they felt. Well, this just gives us a greater chance at achieving this. We used to ask this question that I'm going to bring up, we used to ask it in the beginning, because that's actually how we learned it. It's not a new thing, but we used to ask it in the beginning, and then we found that saving it till the end actually got us results a lot better in terms of how the conversation went. And the question that you probably heard before is the what's most important question. Now, in the meeting that we had, they may have been bringing up financial goals or dreams or things that they have and things that they need to achieve with money and planning, right? These goals that take money and planning to achieve. But talking about goals doesn't get to the real motivation behind those things, those tangible goals. In order to connect, we need to know the why behind the goal. And that's kind of the emotional element behind the financial goal. This is a step that not a lot of advisors take, but if you do practice it, if you get good at it, you're going to be far above all of the other advisors. So how do we get to this using that what's important question? This is how we get to their core values, their most important things. So after the first meeting framework that we use, we have a pretty good idea that we can help them or not help them. And either we point them to a different route that they can take, where that's better. But if we think we can help them, then we say this. We say, can I ask you a non-financial question? Everyone's got different perspectives when it comes to planning or money. Mine's different than yours. And as we're thinking about putting these plans together and some of the strategies that we might be implementing, it's really helpful to know your perspective. So what's important about money to you? So that's a question you've heard before. It's Bill Bacharach question, or sometimes Carl Richards has his version, and some other versions are out there. And it's often referred to as the values-based question. Now, after we ask it, the prospective client often thinks for a few seconds and then they give an answer. And as they're talking, make sure you're writing down those exact quotes, because these things that they're saying, they're going to be used in the next meeting, very early on in the meeting. Because when we use exact quotes and kind of mirror exactly what they say, that's a great way to re-engage quickly at the beginning of the meeting before we give them the plan, or demonstrate that we listened to them and understood them before we give them some of the tactical things or the financial concepts or recommendations that come on that one-page plan. And by the way, if you're interested in our entire playbook that we use with the scripts and stories and everything that we use to train our advisors at Streamline on how to onboard clients with these 2 meetings, then sign up for the newsletter below, because I share some examples that you don't get on YouTube. And then also, whenever I open up enrollment to that course, it's the Advisor Playbook course. When I open up enrollment, you'll get an email about that as well. So let me just share a little bit of what kind of result happens after you ask what's important about money to you. They'll think about it, and a lot of times they'll start with things like freedom or security or not making a mistake or things like that, and that's good. So you got to affirm and say that's great, and then you kind of go to the next level of, so what's important about security to you? And what ends up happening is that you go a little bit deeper and deeper and have a more meaningful conversation. And it's really a great way to learn what's most important to them. A person that we met, it was over the phone, first call, and at the end of it, he was like, man, I feel like you guys know me better than I do, after we just went through a few of those iterations of that question. But it's been key for us, so hopefully you can start trying this out. And if you've got questions about it, let me know. If you sign up for the email list, you can reply to those emails that I send out, hopefully about once a week, and we can have a conversation after that. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please like it, and then I'll see you in the next video.